Howdy, folks. So here I am again with Jerome Bell, and we continue our conversation about Black Lives Matter, as well as parenting and how those two things are connected, as well as white people and black people and their dynamic, along with some conspiracies and other interesting things. So it might be triggering for you, could be some good medicine. Hope you enjoy it.
And so the problem that I see is that your everyday man, your everyday black man, husbands and fathers, were intimidated by authority figures. And so the reason why you're intimidated by authority figure is you have to go back to the first authority figure that you experienced in your life, and that's your parents. And if you don't recognize that you and your parents are peers, then you will always be intimidated by an authority figure of one sort or another. That's why you need to overcome the shortcomings of your parenting by forgiving your parents for the gap between what you needed and what you received. Forgive them for that gap. And you treat them as your peers by treating them the way you want to be treated. And ensuring or requiring that they treat you the way you want to be treated. Basically, you're both following the golden rule. And the challenge for that is to separate the person from the office. Same way we do with the president. How we have a president, we separate the person from the office of president. Unlike a king, you do that with your parents. You separate the office, the duty and responsibility of a parent, from the person. The person is your peer because they have equal positioning and access to God. They're your peer, and so you treat them the way you want to be treated, but you respect the office differently. So as an adult, what is the duty and responsibility of a parent? Is actually to be an example of how to treat others as your peer. Yeah. So your parents are supposed to be a better example. Your parents are supposed to treat you the way you want to be treated better than you treat them the way you want to be treated. So this notion of peers, your parents should be doing a better job of treating you as a peer than of you treating them as a peer, simply because they've had greater opportunity to learn that. And so the office is to be an example of how to do that better. So so that's what I see as the fundamental problem, and therefore, the fundamental solution is overcoming the shortcomings of parenting by forgiving them and treating them as your peers. Without that, these things, I'll say definitely within the Black community, I don't see them as being rectified. You have to go to the core.
So this translates to how we view our parents as these authority figures, and then like they can give us ideas that obviously if they don't like the police or authority, then we'll get that, and then we won't respect the police and authority. And it's our relationship with our parents which will be created into how we view authority in general.
Absolutely. And then so what was particularly damaging is if you listen to the way mainstream, because Black people aren't a monolith, white people aren't a monolith, obviously, but if you listen to mainstream Black culture, there's this idea that white people are an authority figure. And so, which is really just that idea that they hold the keys to success, right? And prior to that, the ego of, the white supremacy ideology, which is that's just ego. Prior to the Civil Rights Movement, mainstream Black America knew that it was a bluff. It was a front. It was known. Like, it was just known. It was like, it's BS. We wouldn't necessarily say it, right? Because we weren't trying to pick a fight, but we knew it was a bluff. What was so damaging about the Civil Rights Movement is that then we started to believe it too. And so we started to see, white America as an authority figure when they're not. But it really boils down to it's just it's the same dynamics of your relationship with your parents, and it's just scaling it out. Whether that authority figure is a community like white people, whether it's the government, even if it's corporations. Some people say big tech. It's like there is no big tech authority figure. It's in your head. You have the power to overcome and change all these things. The Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve doesn't control money. It's just a bluff. It's a facade. It's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's just things are created by spreading the word about it.
Yeah.
Like we believe these things, and I think this idea of, I mean, I appreciate you and your research. You seem like you've done a lot of research and you know your shit a lot about this kind of stuff. And mine is mostly just theorizing. But I think the term rationalism, or some other term of like we create our own reality with how we perceive things. So if it's on a mass level that Black people think, well, white people hold the keys to success and they're our oppressors, then that's just how all of their reality is created. In Black Lives Matter movement, it's, I don't know, to me, I think that there's a lot of evil white people pulling strings on the movement, and it's really benefiting them. I have a new theory I discovered yesterday. I'm curious what you have to say about it. And you seem somewhat you're spiritual, I imagine, and in the spiritual realm, there's a lot of conspiracies around it. Of it's just hiding all this evil, really. And I met this woman yesterday. She said that George Floyd was actually paid off. Like said that his family would be financially set for life, and maybe he made some kind of soul contract to be, sacrifice his life because they knew it would blow up so much. And with the coronavirus, it was just the perfect thing for everyone to get pissed off about and to blow it up and make this whole huge, movement behind equality. And it's a new idea. I'm open to it. I'm curious what you have to say about that.
Well, I think it's important because I know you've been doing a lot of research. Is when we have these ideas, we have to stick to the facts. So one of the things is, conspiracies do happen. There's also conspiracies that don't happen. So I think the biggest thing is that when you're solid on something, it's just cite your source. Say exactly, put the exact links where you said this fact is from this source and that source, like a good Wikipedia article. Because that way, people aren't wasting their time and spinning their wheels going down the rabbit hole, or rather they can get to the truth, and that's extremely constructive. So I don't know how solid you are on this, or if you're kind of still in the midst of the research, but if you're solid on it, I'm willing to talk about it. But if you're still researching, wait until you kind of solidify that.
Yeah. Explore. Dude, I'll be honest, I don't really do much research. Mine is all theories and talking to people and maybe watching some videos, some documentaries, a couple article readings here and there. Mine is all gut feeling, intuition primarily. As far as when all this stuff happened, I thought this is very fishy. I think there's something deep and dark going on here. And then this documentary fell into my lap called The Fall of Cabal that kind of confirmed my suspicions about the BLM movement and what's really going on here before the George Floyd epidemic and the pandemic, COVID. And then, all this stuff about child trafficking has been coming out. And I'm like, I think BLM, I totally think that this could be covering that up with George Soros and stuff. And then now Charles Wade is under arrest, or he's under some trouble for child trafficking or, prostitution, stuff like this. So it's just very eerie and fishy, and all the the darkness I'm being exposed to with humanity and the elites, and maybe there's reptilians and aliens and all this shit. It's just very, very strange. And as a white person, challenging or questioning the BLM movement makes me an immediate suspect of being a racist and being shamed. White silence is violence. So it's the perfect cover to have a lot of dark shit happen, evil shit happen under the guise of equality.
So what I've been challenging in response to that, I've been challenging myself to do is be hyper constructive. So my philosophy is saying, someone says, hey, you know that house across the street, there's some bodies buried underneath it. Rather than trying to go down that rabbit hole of saying, well, is that true? I would just say, I'm going to buy that property and I'm going to build a new unit, rent it out, get income. And if in the process of them doing that construction job, they find a body, okay. But other than that, I'm not worried about it. So I think that if we're just have a constructive approach to everything, if there's any evil, we're going to uncover it. But we're going to uncover it in the process of building something. And so otherwise you're spinning your wheels. I've been cutting back on listening to YouTube political commentators, because I realized these people, with their 500 subscribers or whatever, they making their money just giving their opinion. That's not putting money in my pocketbook. That's not helping me out. I mean, it's a nice echo chamber. It makes me feel good when I listen to people out my. But I try to stay abreast on the news to a reasonable degree, to a minimal degree, enough so that it's constructive for me. And then I try to steer away from the political commentary because it's just not constructive.
So that was some more goodies with Jerome Bell. And we also got really deep into spirituality. And I'll be putting out another video of that at some point. So hope you enjoyed this. Got some new ideas. And yeah, take care of yourselves. Till next time.